Hi, it's me, Vicki Marie, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about a very high profile recent sort of case, if I can call it a case, because no foul play has been proven or apparently suspected by the police, but after I've told you the story, maybe you can decide what you think. I'm not going to cast any aspersions against anyone in this video, because I think that's been done quite a lot by other people, and I have my opinions, but nothing's been proven. I don't want to say things that may not be true. Maybe in another video, if anything else comes up, let's say. But let's just hear the story of Nicola Bulley, because this story, especially in Britain, it just captured everyone's, a bit like the Gabby Petito case, where everyone was hoping for, you know, a happy ending, though it seemed apparent right from the beginning that there probably wouldn't be a happy ending. And this case has taken all twists and turns, and I think there's a lot of mysteries about this case. I think there's a lot more to come out, though, when or if. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be one of those cases that will always leave like a question mark in people's minds. But let's look at what happened. Now, if you follow my channel, you know I'm not here. I'm just here talking about these cases and offering ideas and my opinions, and it's not I don't want to, how can I put it, first of all, I don't want to go into gory details about anything. I mean, you know, either, you know, I will do cases in the future that maybe are quite disagreeable with things that happen, but I don't want to talk about that. I think that's disrespectful. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I want to be respectful to whoever it is, and the families of whoever has suffered from the cases that I'm talking about, and I don't want to go into any gory details, or it's not salacious or anything like that. It's just, I think things happen. What I found since I started enjoying true crime, which sounds awful to enjoy it, but the thing is, it's quite difficult then to go back and watch things that aren't real, because real things are, you know, they say truth is stranger than fiction. It certainly is. You know, you try and watch a crime drama after you've watched a bit of true crime, and you think, you know, it's just because, you know, stories, real life is scarier sometimes, and the stories are, you know, you couldn't make them up, and this is one of them. I think this is why it's grabbed everyone's attention. So Nicola Bulley, again, one of those women especially that I feel like I know, even though I don't know, but she's been, you know, for 3 weeks, it was so every day you turned on the news, you looked on Twitter, social media, etc., and Nicola would be looking at you from a photo. So in the end you feel like you know her, even though you don't, and you start to, you know, feel a personal interest in her being found safe and well. You know, it's quite a strange feeling. We really were bombarded with information about this case, but as you'll see, it started off we were asked to help, and etc., and now nothing. Very strange. But anyway, so on Friday the 27th of January this year, 2023, if you're watching this later on, Nicola disappeared, literally disappeared. So and nobody knew what had happened to her. So Nicola was 45 years old. She was born in Essex, which, for those of you who are not British, is in the south of the UK, but she moved to Lancashire, which is in the north, and actually not far from where I'm from, which is Manchester, and she moved there in the late 1990s. So yeah, and she moved to a village called St Michael's on Wyre, which is a beautiful You know, from what I've seen on the, you know, because I've seen a lot of videos about that village, I believe that the residents of that village are absolutely sick of people going there and taking videos, etc. Because TikTokers, YouTubers, you know, I don't really understand this, why people feel like they have to go to the scenes. But having said that, in the beginning, they were asked by the police for any information and if they found any clothing, or so people were going there and actually being armchair well, not even armchair detectives, I'm an armchair detective. They were going there and actually, you know, searching places, and in fact they were going there so much they made a nuisance of themselves, you know. So anyway, we'll get to that. So she was 45 years old. She had two very young daughters, junior school age. I don't know much about them. I don't want to talk about them or find, you know, at the end of the day, those girls, they should remain practically anonymous because they're so young. I mean, photos of them have been liberally shared, unfortunately, not only by TikTokers, etc., but her partner. These I don't really like that either, because those girls should be anonymous, I think. But anyway, never mind. And Nicola lived in a quite nice house with her partner, Paul Ansell. Not married, but been together for quite a long time, 9 years, I believe. And she was a mortgage advisor, and apparently she's very good at her job, very personable. She's certainly very attractive. You can see that on her photos. And yeah, so she was living, you know, a normal life that a lot of people live. She's taking her children to work to school in the morning, working online, because she worked a lot, not probably all the time, but she could work online, so she would take the dog for a walk. You know, and this Friday, the 27th of January, was a normal day to begin with. It's believed, because again, we don't know. It just strikes me, because no CCTV has been released of Nicola actually walking up the road to take her dog for a walk. But there was some CCTV released showing her putting her dog in the car and going off to school. And then other people say maybe that wasn't her, maybe that was a different day. I mean, there's so many. And then her partner in a TV interview said he normally put the girls in the car and put the dog in the, you know. So again, this is what we're told or what we're given to think, but I don't think any of it is 100% certain that this is what's happened. Anyway, she took the girls to school. She then walked, because what she would do then would be leave her car in the car park near the school and take the dog over the road to a river where everybody would walk their dogs. There's fields, a path, you know, a very beautiful spot right by the river Wire. Now, so we're given to, but there's no CCTV of Nicola even walk. I mean, I haven't seen any CCTV of her actually in the field or anywhere near the field, or, you know, they're saying she was seen, and they showed CCTV of people who they were looking for to talk to, people who were there on that day. But I have not seen any CCTV of Nicola actually walking on that field. But anyway, so she dropped her children off, apparently, at approximately 8:40, and then she set off for her normal walk with her Springer Spaniel, Willow. If only dogs could talk, because Willow will know everything that exactly happened, but of course, poor Willow, we can't ask her. It was a very cold day. I found that quite interesting. It was a freezing day, and it was muddy as well, and around the river and that. So, because I just thought, how could nobody see her, or not many people see her? But apparently there weren't many people out walking that morning because it was so cold, bitterly cold and muddy, etc. Now, at 9:07, she sent an email to her employer. Now, I'd like to say us, we know she was alive then, but we don't. Someone sent an email to her employer on her telephone, maybe her. At 8:57, she sent a text to a friend to arrange a play date. This again seems strange to me in view of what the police think happened to her after that. Why would you arrange a play date? But anyway. And then at 9:01, she joined a Microsoft Teams call with work. Now, apparently this is not, although she joined it, this is not a call where you have to actually say anything. It'd be like your boss talking and there might be 30 people in your team listening to it, but you don't necessarily need to contribute to it. Maybe just telling you what your the goals are for that month, or, you know, so it's not, it wasn't noticed if that she didn't actively join in, because a lot of the people on it wouldn't actively join in. You just had to be connected and listening. And apparently the last time she was seen, though we haven't seen any CCTV of this is just what they're saying, 9:10 she was seen walking the dog on the field next to the river, off lead. The dog was off lead, and apparently this was common. I think that's I'm a dog owner. I have 3 dogs, and that's exactly what you do. So you keep them on the lead while you're going through the streets or the roads, etc. And then when you get to a nice open space, if your dog is safe off the lead, because I have one dog that rarely comes back, so I tend not to let him off the lead. But any dogs that are safe off the lead, good with other dogs, will come back. You know, will come back to you easily if you shout them. Yeah, you probably would let them off the lead, let them have a run around. Now, this is a strange thing. At 9:20, the police say the phone moved to the vicinity of the bench. I find that quite a strange thing to say. So they're not saying Nicola went to the bench or Nicola put her phone on the bench. Before that, they're more or less talking like it's Nicola doing it, but then suddenly it's 9:20, the phone moved in the vicinity of the bench. So by the side of the river, there's a bench. Now, on YouTube, etc., there's lots of, what I found very useful was, because I couldn't imagine the scene, you know, and there's a lot of videos on YouTube and Sky News, etc., showing, you know, that people retracing the steps that she would have taken from the car park where she parked her car, walking to the where she took the dog for a walk, to the bench, which is right next to the river wire. So it's quite helpful to watch those videos because it gives you a good idea of, well, one, how open it is. It's very open. You know, I just thought, how could something happen to her without anybody seeing it? It just seems so open. There's a lot of people walk around with dogs. Having said that, on that particular day, as I said, there were less people maybe than normal because it was just so bitterly cold. Anyway, the phone moved to the vicinity of the bench. Yeah, they're not even saying to it was found on the bench, but they're saying the phone moved to the vicinity of the bench. At 9:30, the Teams call, the Microsoft Teams call that Nicola was on, was ended by the host. But Nicola didn't click out of it, or nobody clicked out of it for Nicola. So when the phone was found, it was still on this Teams call from her side of things, but the actual, whoever had done the, you know, organised the team call had clicked out, and, you know, it was finished, but Nicola was still logged in. Because, yeah, at 9:33, apparently, a passerby discovered the mobile phone still connected on the beach by the river. Now, this, I keep saying beach, I do live in Spain, that's why maybe I'm thinking I need to get to the beach soon. So on the bench by the river. Now, this bench is very close to the river. The dog was running loose, Willow was running loose around that part of the area. And the dog's harness was found between the bench and the river. So you've got the phone on the bench, you've got the dog's harness between the bench and the river, You've got the dog running round in circles, practically appearing distressed, but you don't know, who knows? And Nicola's disappeared. No Nicola. Nobody knows. No CCTV, no nothing to say where she went. She just disappeared. And she wasn't in the river. Well, then. So anyway, she was reported missing. I find this next bit, what happened, is very grey area. You hear so many people saying different things, but the upshot of it all was somebody phoned the school, who then phoned Paul Ansell, who is the partner. He then, for some unknown reason, changed into his gym clothes and came down to the river and got the dog, the phone, etc., and then I think he phoned the police on the way to the river. Now, there's a lot of conjecture about Paul. Again, I don't want to join in it at the moment because who knows? I don't know Paul. I don't know the situation. Who knows, you know, what happened? But I'm just saying I just like to stick to what actually we do know at the moment. The police arrived. Now, it comes out later on why the police immediately treated Nicola's disappearance as a vulnerable missing person. We'll find that out later anyway. I'll talk about that later. But that's what they did. So they practically immediately, started searching. Apparently the Coast Guard, Mountain Rescue, fire crews, and members of the public were encouraged to look around for items of clothing, etc. Then, so let's see. So she went missing. That day was Friday the 27th of January. So on the 3rd of February, so almost a week later, the police gave a press conference where they said their working hypothesis was there was no third party involved, no suspicious circumstances, and Nicola, they had no evidence to suggest that Nicola had left the field, so they thought she had gone into the river. I think everybody took a sort of sharp breath when they said that, because it was like, well, if it's a hypothesis and there's no evidence, how can you have that as a hypothesis, the working hypothesis? It can be one of the working hypotheses. If something happens, you have several probably. There's several things that might have happened. Why did they focus in on that particular hypothesis and basically declared that in their view, Nicola had gone into the river? Now, the River Wyre is not in that area where the bench is anyway. It's not a fast-flowing river, though it is tidal and it has got deep parts in the middle. But I don't think that the dog wasn't wet for a start. So people are like, well, maybe she went in after her dog. Maybe her dog fell in the river. The dog had not been in the river. There were no scuff marks or anything to show that anyone had fallen in the river and tried to get out. So did she voluntarily go into the river? Did she jump into the river, to commit suicide? I'm sorry. Whatever Nicola's mental state was, and I know when people are suicidal, they don't think logically, I know that. But it was freezing cold. And also, you couldn't be sure that would kill you, I think, if you're planning on committing suicide, the first thing you're thinking about is you want to make sure it works. You're not going to jump into a freezing cold river where you just might you know, be frozen for sort of 10-15 minutes and suffer. You know, you want it to be quick, you want it to not, you don't want to feel anything, you don't want to feel all that misery, surely, unless you're so far gone that you literally are. But I can't see that she was that far gone, because she was doing all her normal routine. She was logging in at work, she was arranging a play date. So, you know, she wasn't in a state where she didn't know what she was doing. Anyway, that's another story, because we'll go on to talk about that later when we find out why the police thought she was vulnerable. So, everything went mad then. So the TikTokers were out in force, the YouTube, people making videos for YouTube, everyone wanted to find. And to be fair, I know it was probably very irritating for the police, because they sort of made a monster really. They asked people to help, people went to help, and then the police said, oh, hang on a minute, we don't want all this help. But people were genuinely, although maybe they went, you know, they did do the wrong thing. I would never have gone there and done that, but they were doing it because they wanted to find Nicola. People did care. Like, I think because she was so much, I say, on the news, every news broadcast, we felt like we knew her. So people were actually trying to help, but perhaps not in the best way. But anyway, they did. So on the 15th of February, so quite a while later really when you think about it, there was another press conference, and they brought the big guns out, you know, the chief constable and the senior investigative officer, and, you know, there was a very defensive press conference. If you ever watch it, if you watch it on the TV, it's like, you know, you could tell they were really irritated about the way people were talking about the investigation, etc. And then said, it's still our working hypothesis that she went into the water, but we're open to all possibilities. So we've gone from, we think she went into the water, now we're open to all possibilities. And they complained about the TikTokers, the social media interest, etc. They said they had reason to believe Nicola had specific vulnerabilities, but they refused to elaborate on what they were. I mean, it's just incredible, isn't it? So, you know, it's like a teaser. You know, you say to someone, oh yes, well, you know, she's got specific vulnerabilities. Of course, the press's next question is going to be, well, what specific vulnerabilities? You know, they're not just going to go, oh, right, okay, and, you know, that's just not going to happen, is it? And surely an experienced police person would know that. But anyway, that's what they did, and within a couple of hours, there was so much speculation, and then apparently there was a rumour that someone, who, I don't know, friend of Nicola, you know, we just don't know who, someone was going to sell their story to one of these revolting tabloid papers that we have in Britain, about Nicola's special vulnerabilities. And then the police came out and said Nicola had been having problems because of the menopause and alcohol. Well, I was absolutely fuming at this, because bearing in mind, Nicola's disappeared. Maybe she just couldn't face life anymore, and she may not have committed suicide. She's just run off somewhere, and she's hiding, or she's with someone, another friend or whatever, and she's starting to think, oh, maybe I should go back. And then this comes out all over the news. Everybody knows you've got problems with alcohol and the menopause. Well, you're not coming back then, are you? You've just been mortified that everybody knew your personal problems. I mean, I was so angry at that. I thought it was so disrespectful, because that is Nicola's confidential information that nobody should know unless she chooses to share it with them. Anyway, they said that the reason they did that was because someone was threatening to sell their story. They also said then that they had been called to a welfare check at her house on the 10th of January, a couple of weeks before Nicola went missing. Again, we don't know any details about this welfare check. For me, I just think if you know the case of the Epsom headmistress, which I'm going to do a video on, that happened there as well. The police were called out to a welfare check just before she was shot in the head by her husband, and her little girl was shot as well. And somehow her husband made it seem as if it was her with the mental problems. Happened with Gabby Petito. Just the same, you know, trying to make it look as if it's Gabby who's got the problems when it's Brian who's a raving psychopath who ends up murdering her. And it just, that resonates with me somehow, you know, coming out of there saying that she's mentally unstable. Well, was she? Or is he mentally unstable and just wanted everyone to think she was? I mean, I don't know. Also, the reason that I sort of, this really sort of irritates me and really rings a bell with me is because that happened to me many years ago. Again, I had an incident with a stalker, an ex-partner, and that's exactly what they do. If you don't want to be with them, then you must be mentally unhinged. You know, how can you not want to be with me? That, you know, you're mentally unstable because you don't want to be in a relationship with me. That's basically how it goes. And believe me, I know from experience, people, they start to believe those things. But anyway, that, I'm still alive, so I did survive this ordeal. But I will do, you know, it did have a horrible end. But I will do a video on that. But that's just wanted to explain to you, that's another reason why it rankles, you know, because it's like, well, how do we know? We don't know. She can't speak for herself now. Then we didn't know she was dead, but she disappeared. She could have been watching that on the TV and like, oh my God, they're all saying I'm mentally unstable. Oh, and then go and kill herself. You know, it's just so disrespectful, I'm afraid. Okay, so sorry for ranting on, but it's like a real sort of bugbear of mine. Yes, so they were called out to this welfare report at her house on the 10th of January. We have no details. Don't know what happened, whether that will all come out in the inquest, etc. I don't know. Okay. Oh, so at the same time that they gave away all Nicola's personal information, they also issued a dispersal order to the TikTokers and the people, as they said they were disrupting the interrogation. So going from, yes, everyone get involved and help us see what you can do to help. It's like, no, go away, we don't want anybody around here. Now, bear in mind that the police have never treated this scene like a crime scene, so there was no police tape up. You know, people were going there, it was open to go there, it wasn't cordoned off, or, you know, so people weren't doing anything wrong, really, but it's just the volume of people, I think, just became distracting, and yes, people trying to solve the case themselves and going and interviewing people who live nearby and etc. is not really, unless they volunteer to be interviewed, I think that's not really a good thing to do. Another thing then that happened, because the police are searching up and down the river. They keep saying she's in the river, but nearly 3 weeks have gone past and they still haven't found her body. Not only not found her body, but not found any of her clothes or, you know, nothing. No evidence that she's in that river at all. But they've got no evidence that she left the field, so they're still working on this hypothesis. So, a private search team, a guy called Peter Faulding, who's supposedly an expert, who's quite often used with the police to locate bodies or locate underwater things. He's from the Specialist Group International, and he has a side-scan sonar boat. And he went up and down the river. He spent a couple of days, I believe, up and down the river looking. No sign of Nicola, and he actually said no way she's in the river, and he also said in his 20-year career he had never seen anything so unusual. So we're no further on. She's still not been found. Nobody knows where she is. There's a lot of, speculation online about what's happened to her. A lot of conspiracy theories. Maybe the partner did something to her. Maybe some of the local people did something to her. Lots of speculation. Then during this time, a few strange things happened. The partner, Paul Ansell, he started courting the press because he did a 75-minute interview with Channel 5 with Dan Walker, and said a lot of things, but one of the things he said was she was definitely not in the river. She's definitely not in the river. And the other thing he said, which sort of struck me, well, there's quite a lot of things I'd like to go through, but I don't want to say anything terrible about Paul because I don't know him, and everybody deals with grief in different ways. But another thing but I do want to mention, because it just struck me as strange, because he's gone from thinking she was in the river, now he's saying something has happened. Something has happened. He said it twice, and then he said, find out what it is. Find out what it is. I don't know, it just was strange that. It was like, yeah, this is what I want you to do now, do it, because, and he then said he wanted the whole area searched, every, building, every field, every forest, and that should be searched. Oh, and in the meantime, the guy from the search team, the underwater search team, when he found out about Nicola's vulnerabilities, in other words, that she might be suicidal, really, if you cut to the chase, what the police were saying is they had reason to believe she might be suicidal, he was fuming because he hadn't been told this. So he confined his search to the river. But he said he would have looked in different places, around the fields, etc. She may have hung herself, or he didn't say that, I'm saying that, but you could see what he was saying. He wasn't given the right information. He was just told, right, search there. He wasn't given that other information that she had these vulnerabilities, but they didn't mind later on telling the world, but they didn't tell the specialist search guy all the facts when he was helping to look for her. Anyway, so Paul's made this 70-minute video, 75-minute video, talking about Nicola, talking about all sorts of things, what he thinks happened and that. And as I say, you need to watch that yourselves and make your own minds up. I'm not commenting on that video at the moment. But he was definitely caught in the press at this time because he even sent a voice message to Sky News. He's obviously given Sky News and different news outlets his number and that, because he was ringing them. He left a voice message for Sky News saying, he couldn't put the girls to bed again tonight without them knowing where their mum... some strange things. Why did he do that? I don't know, but because as you'll see later on, he just totally sort of rubbishes Sky News and ITV. But at this point, he's caught in the media. He's talking to them. He's apparently that interview that he did with Dan Walker wasn't expecting it to go on for as long as that, so he was comfortable talking to the press, whatever he says later on. Anyway, now we come to what I just think is the even more weird part of this story, or the most incredible part of this story, is that, so 3 weeks go by and she's not been found. I mean, the other thing is I don't think the police were still looking every day, checking the river, and because people were still walking by the side of it, people were still going there. They did check it. They wondered if she'd been washed out to sea because it's near Morecambe Bay, and they did do a little search there. But now, I do think this is because of the resources. This is something that struck me. Is it because our police, or the British police these days, have no resources? So, they've been sort of squeezed so tight by this horrible government that we have, that you felt like they were just doing the minimum. They weren't doing as much as they really should be able to do, and probably because they just didn't have the resources. Lancashire police, Lancashire's a massive place. It's got a massive police force, but it's a big place to police, and You know, I would say in the police's defence, they probably haven't got the resources to deal with this, especially because they were thinking, oh, it's a missing person. I don't know. Missing person cases don't get so many resources as if it had been a murder inquiry, for example, or even foul play, just, you know, they didn't know. So I don't think they could, because, so what happened finally, after 3 weeks, on the 19th of February, one Sunday, a psychic medium, a guy from Manchester, funnily enough, from my neck of the woods, Jason Rothwell, 33 years old, he's walking by the side of the river with his friend. Now, some people say they had a dog, some people didn't say don't mention a dog. I don't know if they had a dog with them or not. I don't think they did, but I'm not 100% certain. He finds her. He finds her body. So we've got a specialist search team. We've got the police, the Coast Guard, the fire department. What were the other things that we had? Everybody, mountain rescue. They've all been looking for Nicola for 3 weeks. This psychic medium guy goes for a walk along the river, and he says he went because he said, I thought I would use whatever gifts we mediums have to try and find Nicola. That's how he put it. He's not looking for you know, attention, approval, anything. He just did it. And you know, a lot of people are down on him, sort of like hating on him, but he found her. You can't, you know, whether you believe he's a real medium or not, I mean, that's just a subjective opinion. I personally do believe in mediums, and I've watched a few of his videos, etc. Follow him now on Facebook, etc. And yeah, I think he is genuine. I think he thinks he's genuine anyway. Not all mediums are genuine, don't get me wrong. I know that not all mediums are genuine, but I think he is. And whether you think he's genuine or not, he found her. He found her. If it wasn't for him, she might still be there. You know, so stop hating on him. You know, he deserves a lot of credit for finding her. So, this is what he said. He made a statement afterwards. And he said, "It is important to mention I was not asked by the police or Nicola's family to become involved in this case. But having seen the wild speculation and hurtful commentary that has been ongoing, and having previously assisted in the recovery of Michael Brooks," this is another missing person that he helped to locate the body. Again, another young lad that he'd gone into water. The police had looked for him and not found him. He found him, or he helped to find him. And that boy now, at least his family know where he is, and it's an unexplained death. So they're not ruling out foul play in that particular case. But you know, so he'd done it before. So, having previously assisted in the recovery of Michael Brooks, I decided to use whatever gift it is we mediums possess to try and locate Nicola Bulley. At that time, he didn't know that it was definitely Nicola Bulley. He just knew it was a woman. But obviously, with time, she was identified as Nicola Bulley. Now, she was found a mile from where she went missing, in the reeds, in a place that the specialist search team had gone up and down and said she's definitely not in the river. I mean, they do admit that she was in the reeds. They may not have, their sonar may not have picked her out in the reeds, but you just think, how? Because not only them, but the police, who are supposed to have scoured, the Coast Guard, the Mountain Rescue, all those people, TikTokers and people walking up and down the river, I've never seen her body that was just there. And then this guy, so, you know, he's either a murderer himself and he put the body there, which obviously he didn't. But, you know, I'm sure he's been investigated on that basis. I think, well, you know, 3 weeks later, one Sunday afternoon, he's walking along and there she is, boom. Yeah, strange, isn't it? So, the police, another short press conference where they declared that the body did belong to Nicola, or it was Nicola's body, and I think it was a superintendent, a lady, read out a statement from the family. We don't know who they mean when they say the family. Do they mean just Paul? Is it Paul and the parents and the sister, you know, all together? We never know. So anyway, she read out a statement from the family, and again, I would like to look at that in more detail one day but not yet, when we see what the final upshot of everything is. And it just took my breath away, because they criticised, or the family, which Paul, I think, made a real attack on Sky News and ITV. So these are the people that he's been interviewed by voluntarily, looked for, sent voice messages to, done a 75-minute interview with, and now suddenly they're like terrible, awful. They contacted him and he expressly asked for privacy, but he didn't ask for privacy, because that was at the first statement. So that's when he should have asked for privacy. But obviously, when the body was found, if they've had some sort of relationship with him where he's been texting them, phoning them, and they're going to send him a message and say, how are you, at least, or have you got any comments? You know, at the end of the day, they are journalists, and journalists can work for good or bad. You know, you want the media coverage to help you resolve, you know, your missing loved one, where have they gone, etc. But then you can't just turn on them then, and as if, you know, everything they did was terrible. But anyway, just struck me, I don't know. So basically now Nicola's body is with the coroner, and we hear nothing. There's nothing on the news. The only thing we get now about Nicola is I don't know, it must be very irritating. A TikToker has been arrested for, you know, basically making himself a pain in the butt, I think, to the police. I don't know, that's a whole nother story that, you know, what do you think about that? I mean, do you think, if you know anything about this TikToker, I've watched a few of his videos, and he does go off and film people, and that he says he's not filming, but he is, which is a bit, you know, and he's filmed the police. The police are amazing what the things they've said, and you think, why are you saying that to him? Even if you don't know that he's recording, you shouldn't really be saying that. But anyway, there you go. Yeah, so that's really the only news there's been lately, is what happened to him, that he got arrested for spreading malicious information, etc. I don't know, whereas he's saying he just goes and films. You know, the site, and he's right, the site hasn't been cordoned off, it's a public place. There's nothing to say you can't go there. Why you would want to go there is a whole other thing, but I'm just saying, it is supposedly a free country. Okay, so that's where we are, and it could be till the autopsy is finished. Again, rumours, I don't know, that the body may have been released already. There may have been a funeral already, I don't know, because nothing is in the public domain. But the inquest could last until June. So, yeah, we don't know the cause of death yet. What was the other two other things that I just wanted to comment on, to see what you think. You tell me what you think, and because I don't like thinking bad of people, but one thing that happened quite soon, very soon after Nicola disappeared, was a friend of the family, Emma White. She started up a GoFundMe page to raise £100,000 for Paul and the girls. and there was a huge outcry, because really what was this money for? Because £100,000 for what she was missing. So they don't have to pay to search for her, you know, the police paid to search for her. The search guy offered his services free of charge, so there was quite a big outcry. So she lowered the amount from 100,000 to 50,000, I think, and then to 10,000. And then in the end she took that GoFundMe page down altogether and apologised, to be fair, and said it was just an error of judgment. So maybe she was just trying to help. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. You know, what's Paul and the girls going to do? I don't know. But so that was the first thing. And now, since Nicola's body was found, another friend of Paul's has set up another GoFundMe page. Now, they started off with a much more modest goal, if you like, of £20,000, which they've now upped because they reached that total. I believe they're on around £40,000 at the moment. Maybe in the end they will arrive at 100,000. Now, I sort of understand this one a bit more. They do have a funeral to plan, which is very expensive, and it was, you know, not expected at Nicola's age that they would need, you know, a funeral. And of course they've got the girls will need looking after, and now they've lost an income. You know, I don't know what Paul does. There's a lot of conjecture about what he does, what he doesn't do. He had a business, did he lose it? He's got, you know what rumours are like. So I don't want to comment on them because I don't know, basically. I don't know Paul's situation financially. He could be a millionaire for all I know, or he could be a pauper. I don't know. But yeah, so at least they've got the money for the funeral, which to me seems fair enough. If people feel like they want to give that and help them, you know, give Nicola a good send-off, if you like. It's a horrible expression, that really, and I didn't know what else to say. Give her the respect that she deserves and the love that she deserves in a funeral. Funerals are important at the end of the day. So that's where we are. What do you think? Had you been following it? Did you watch Paul's interview? What did you think? What do you think of Emma? I mean, there's so many conspiracy theories about Emma, and you know, I don't like that, because they don't know Emma. Nobody knows Emma as a person. And yeah, you can watch her interviews and things seem strange. The only thing that seemed strange to me, but it sort of does and it doesn't. She always appears in full makeup with her eyes, you know, like my eyes are now. They're made up, eyeliner, you name it, it's there. Now, I think if I was on there talking about my best friend who'd gone missing, I think I might, well, there's two ways I'd look at it. I think I'm not wearing any makeup because I know it's going to end up plastered all over my face because I'm going to start crying. She never starts crying. But, or I would think, oh God, it's the telly. I mean, you know, like it or not, you know, you're on the telly, you know a lot of people are watching you. You know, you don't want to, you want to look, that is a bit human nature, or certainly women's nature, you know. Oh God, I'm going to get into trouble for saying this, I know, but if you know, I don't know. I think if it was me, I would do the foundation and the lipstick and maybe a little bit of eyeshadow, but I wouldn't be bothered with the mascara or the eyeliner because I would know that would end up just everywhere. So, yeah, what do you think about that? Or is it just... Not everybody's such an emotional person. You know, it doesn't take much to make me cry, but some people don't cry so easy, just full stop. Or one thing I did think about Paul and what he said, and I think it's probably true, you're sort of holding yourself together so much, you know, for the girls or for whatever, just to try and carry on. You can't show any emotion, because once that little bit of emotion comes, you're just going to go, you know, like it's going to be like a dam breaking. So it's like, maybe that's true as well. So, you know, I don't know. But I'd like to know what you think. So I read all your comments. I don't always agree with every comment. I've noticed that I had quite a lot of comments on the Gabby Petito case, some of which I agreed with and some of which I didn't. But I don't mind, I like that. I like to hear other people's point of view, but as long as they're respectful. If they're not a respectful comment either to whoever it is I'm discussing or to me, I will just remove them. And in fact, YouTube tends to remove, it'll either be me who's removed. If your comment disappears, it might be me who's removed it, or it might be YouTube that's removed it because they don't like those comments either. Or sometimes I take it off because I don't want to get into trouble with YouTube for leaving them on. So yeah, leave whatever comments you like, whatever opinions you like, but just say them respectfully. No bad language, please. And yeah, we just wait and see now, isn't it? Wait and see what comes out at the inquest. I've attended an inquest for not an unsimilar situation, a suicide inquest, and you know they're quite distressing. I don't know if the family are going to go to them or whatever, but they do take a long time to come around. You find out things that you probably didn't know at the time, even as the family, because they don't tell you it. You know, once they're in with the coroner, they belong to the coroner. And it's the coroner that decides whether you get to know things or not. So until the inquest, I mean, you get to know them at the inquest. But what you get to know before that, you know, is at the discretion of the coroner. I was very lucky, the coroner that I dealt with. He was very nice, very sympathetic, and there was no big shocks when it came to the actual case. But anyway, we'll be talking about that in a future video. So thank you for staying here with me. I've enjoyed your company. Always remember to live and love wisely, and I'll see you very soon in the next video. May your God go with you. Thank you.